Done Dissertation Office Hours. I'm your host, Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we demystify the dissertation process so that doctoral students can write and defend a dissertation in 1 year or less. So today's live, we're going to talk about why people think dissertation coaching is a scam. Like y'all, you would be surprised about how many, as I adjust my camera, about how many Facebook groups I'm in for doctoral students. And there's always somebody that has these wild beliefs and remarks about what doctoral students should do. And oftentimes these conversations, there's usually someone who posts in these groups about, getting a dissertation coach. And the types of responses that I see in these groups, it just amazes me. So I wanted to have a conversation with you all because I see this as something that doctoral students you might be going through and trying to think through. And so I want to provide some insight for you to kind of some things to think about. So for today's live, I really want to talk about an experience that I had recently in a group. And then some things about why you might feel ashamed or thoughts about dissertation coaching just generally. And then I want to talk about what do you actually look for in a coach. So it might get to a point where you need one, and we'll talk about why you may need one. And I want to talk about some things that most people won't tell you to look for in a coach, but I think they're really important. And then also I want to talk a bit about why our program, Done Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program, works. Because I think it's so important. And there's a lot of doc students out here who are having these really bad experiences working with dissertation coaches. And I think dissertation coaches are getting a bad rap. And so I really want to talk about this for you all and give you all some things to consider. But first, right, let me tell you about this experience I had. So I'm in one of these doctoral support communities, right? And one of the people in the group posted like, hey, I'm looking for a dissertation coach. And, some people were giving referrals and, listing like who their favorite coach was. Of course, some people tagged Done Dissertation in that list. I'm appreciative to everybody who did. But then there were just a couple of folks and someone I know in the field who actually, has done some work. And they basically were saying that coaching is a scam. And what they felt and their argument they were trying to make was like, look, y'all are already in these doctoral programs. You're paying all this money. Like this should be on your dissertation chair or your dissertation committee members to kind of pull this load and get the support that you need. But y'all know very well what the case is in a lot of these doctoral programs. But it's just so crazy that you see like this person had this response. And I'm like, look, there's no difference than leadership, right? There are folks who are executives, whether it's your college president, whether it's, executives for corporations who have coaches, right? There's no harm in that. But somehow there's harm when doctoral students go and seek support to get through the process. And, me and this person went back and forth in the comments about, the idea that they feel like, the students need to run up the chain of command. And then if their chair is not providing the support, then they get rid of their chair. And then at that point, if they still not getting support, run up to like the dean and the provost. And like literally this person was giving doctoral students a lot of bad advice because he's not taking into account just the politics of how this all goes down. And because of that, it can get real tricky, right? So I've seen a number of students who have like caught, their chair wasn't working or ineffective, they felt like, and maybe before working it out with their chair, they switched chairs. And little did they know that other chair just kind of sabotaged them. And so those are some of the things I see happen in the background that will impact you. So, again, I wasn't going to win this argument with this person. I just said, at the end of the day, they have their doctorate. Why would you not tell someone to go get help? That's like if you have, a stab wound and you just say, nah, you should figure that out yourself instead of going to see a doctor who can help and fix the problem. That makes absolutely no sense. So if you get around somebody who starts talking about dissertation coaching is a scam, tell them to expand on their argument because oftentimes it's flawed at best because they don't realize that folks need support and need help to get through the process. But that experience and that exchange that I had with this person, I thought other people might be thinking the same thing. So I want to talk a bit about, why at the core, you might be thinking that it's a scam or, I've seen a lot of students, even ones who have come to work with us in the Velocity Group Coaching Program, who prior to working with us had maybe reached out for help from a coach. And either the coach was just like giving them motivation, not really helping them, or like the worst I've seen some folks just get their money taken. And like that's just really, really unfortunate. And so I can understand why some people are definitely apprehensive at this point. But here's the truth of the matter. There are folks out here who are getting help through the dissertation and finishing fast. And the fact that you're sitting on the sideline wondering why, you aren't finishing fast, not realizing that your colleague right next to you is getting help, probably working with us at Done Dissertation. And so these are the things you got to start thinking about. But I want to talk a bit about why, some folks might think it's a scam. And I think this is something that you all got to consider, right? So when you're seeking dissertation coaching, there's a couple things to consider. And real quick, before I get into this, drop your name in the chat, in the comments, just so I know who's here, where you're coming from. If you're working on a dissertation, let me know where you're coming from. I see we got a couple folks in our program who are tapping in, so I'm glad to see everybody in today. But this is something that you got to consider. I know some folks are apprehensive about coaching because somehow internally they think it's about that a dissertation coach is going to write your dissertation for you. That is one thing you got nothing to worry about with done dissertation in the Velocity Group coaching program. I literally have no time to write anybody's papers, anybody's dissertation. I'm a very accomplished author. I got too much stuff going on. Still a faculty member. I just earned, you probably saw on social media, I got tenure and promotion at my university. So now associate professor. So all these things, right? I got time to do all those types of things that could impact somebody from, to actually write somebody's dissertation. And my coaches, shout out to Dr. Patricia Varela, who's a coach, who's also a professor. Like, we're busy. We got scholarship going on, all this other stuff. Like, nobody has time to do that. But this is something you got to start considering. I see a lot of folks that are looking out for coaches, but I will let you know, if you have somebody that you're considering and they're talking about writing your dissertation for you, I would highly suggest that you run. Because here's a couple reasons why. It may seem like, oh, cool, they'll do the work for me. But here's where it gets tricky. Because you didn't write the dissertation, who knows if they plagiarized? So let's say, for instance, the dissertation comes out great, somebody else writes it for you, and then you defend it, and then you go to like your next level up. Usually it's like the dean's office or the graduate school, and they run like a turnitin.com check or whatever the plagiarism site is that your university might use, right? And then you find out that the document was plagiarized. But you didn't even write it to start with. That's a problem in of itself. But then still, you might have folks who are, just putting away, giving you like false work that's been, taken from somebody else's stuff. Like literally at this point, you're trying to earn your doctorate. I want you all to earn it. It takes hard work. It takes dedication. It does not take a long time, but it will be work that you got to put in. And I want you all to be willing to drop and put that work in because I really think it's important. But I know a lot of folks are thinking about that. When they think about coach, they think about somebody doing the work for them. And that's something I've done dissertation we do not do. We don't have time to write anybody's dissertation. That takes a lot of work. I wrote one dissertation. I don't plan to write anymore. And so once you've been through this process, you're like, I'm not writing any more dissertations, but I could definitely support folks getting through that process. So again, this is the first piece I want you all to think about. But shout out to real quick, I just see some folks jumping in. We got Thelma Ramsey. Good to see you. We got, is it Washington? And please correct me on the pronunciation. From St. Cloud in Minnesota. We got Brother Ron Miller from Texas. Good to see you. And future Dr. Anderson says, I am preparing to defend my proposal. Well, that's a good time. Definitely connect with me offline. Maybe send a comment or send me a DM. We do provide support when you're getting to the dissertation proposal defense. And so just shoot me a message. I can tell you more about that. And actually, before I move on, Bamadele presents a great question on YouTube. Is not the chair supposed to be a dissertation coach? Yes and no. So every chair is created different, right? And so you have to realize that your chairs have certain skill sets and certain ways that they are able to help or not help you through the process. And so your chair should be helping you coach in some aspects, but a chair cannot do it all. It's just very difficult. Depending on your situation, your university situation. Here's what happens, Bamadele. As you know, your chair is not only chairing you. They may have 10 to 12 or upwards of 20 at some universities, other folks that they're trying to guide through the process. So sometimes it's not even about them being willing to coach you, but I think it's honestly about do they have the time and do they have the space to actually coach you? And that's a whole different thing because as you all know, faculty life is of course about supporting you all through this process, but faculty are getting evaluated on their research productivity. They're getting evaluated in teaching, as well as their service. And so, a lot of places, dissertation work in terms of helping students is counted towards your service load. And so that's not a big piece of the faculty workload, to be quite honest. And so again, you will see a lot of different processes with a chair. But this is why, Bamadele, having been in the Velocity Group coaching program, this is why we're so big on communication with your chair, because you can work through all these kinks early on in the process, and then you don't have to worry about it as much because you know exactly what your chair can do or they can't do, and then you get support in a different way. So that's a great question, Bamadele. I appreciate that question. And Wo Chen, thank you so much for the correction. Yes, and definitely reach out about that proposal defense. And so with that, right, folks think about, that a dissertation coach is going to write the dissertation for you. If they do that, run. Those are the people you don't want to do. And then I find that a lot of people, when you ask them, should I get a dissertation coach? A lot of them project their own biases about how they feel the dissertation process should be by the way they were, helped or coached into getting their doctorate. So there are a lot of folks, and this is just quite frank, and if this is you, for my people who have their doctorates, if you were kind of like hazed really bad and tortured in a way, some people call it academic torture, that will really impact your advice that you give someone. So if that's been your experience, let me know, because I know a number of people have been in doc programs where they haven't been supported. They just gone through the ringer. And by the time they finish their process, they are not the same person in a negative way that they were before they entered it. And it can really deflate and really take away the confidence of people if they let it. So sometimes when you go and ask people a question, should I get a coach? They're coming at it from that lens of what their process was like. So again, you got to be mindful of who is the messenger and who's giving you this advice when you ask them for it. And that's something that you would ask them, how was your dissertation process? Because that'll give you a lot of insight into what they believe should happen or not happen. And again, oftentimes people say it's a scam because they're always going to make this argument, like the person I had this encounter with in a Facebook community, that, oh my God, the responsibility of coaching should be up to your dissertation chair and the committee. But it just is what it is, y'all. I know that you all, a number of folks have experienced this where their chair does not have the time, not because they don't want to, because they literally don't have the time. And then sometimes they don't have the skill set. And not everyone's being willing to admit that, but sometimes some of us have gone through doc programs and maybe had deficiencies in how we were trained. And that's something to consider, right? That's why I think it's really important to have communication and talk with your chair, because you'll know if they can help you or not. And again, not all folks that are chairing out here are researchers. And again, I'm going to talk about that difference in a minute. Some people have gotten their doctorate, and some people are gotten their doctorate and are researchers. And I think the way folks see research is totally different based on if they actually do research or they don't. And so again, I'll talk about this in a little bit, but I think this is something that's really important that you want to consider when thinking about dissertation coaching. This is why a lot of people think it's a scam in this process, which is very interesting. But here's what I know, if we kind of peel back the layer a little bit, it's not sometimes even about should you get a coach, right? It's about the feelings you might have about the fact that maybe you went through your doctoral program and the training that you had at that point in time did not give you the skill set you needed to get to where you want to go. And that's just a harsh reality of the process. Not all doctoral programs are equal. And then I know for a number of you all, as you went through your coursework and as you're either getting closer to the dissertation proposal or you're in the proposal right now, you quickly realize that the training that you had did not prepare you for the things that faculty are expecting you to do independently. And we see it all the time in the Velocity Group coaching program, and it's not a problem. This is something that we help supplement and provide support so that you can fast track the process. But it's something that you really got to sit with and think about, do I have all the tools I need to do this thing myself? With the support, of course, my chair and my committee. If that's not the case, it's all right to get support. Just like you would do if you were leading a school system, you might get a coach to come in and kind of help you see, well, where are the places that, you might need some help in terms of your leadership and training. And I'm a big proponent of getting support in places that you don't excel in or need support and help. Like literally, Done Dissertation was birthed from a business development course I took. And then from there, when I wanted to learn how to, increase the business, I went and got another coach. Shout out to Jasmine Womack. My first coach, shout out to Dr. Robin Jackson for Impact Income, where I learned how to kind of put the inner workings of Done Dissertation together. Then Jasmine came on and put some fuel on it, wrote 14 Secrets of Done Dissertation, and built the business from there. I think it's something that I do myself, and I always recommend others to do. Like, why sit and be stuck when there's someone who has expertise that can help you get there faster? Literally, that's what you're paying for when you work with a coach. And, the better the coach, the higher the cost, but the faster you're going to get done. And so that's something that you really got to think through and think about. But I think it's really important because at the layer, you might feel ashamed of getting coaching and getting support. But best believe your neighbor, your cohort mate is probably looking into it themselves as well. And again, I'm trying to demystify this because it doesn't have to be this scary thing, this thing that you have to keep hidden. It's just like you're getting support, an extra layer, an extra eye, an extra guide on the side to help get you through the process. And I know for some people, at this point, you feel like you've invested a lot of time and, more importantly, invested a lot of money in getting your doctorate. And you feel like, man, why should I have to, at this point, get a coach when I put all this money in already in the coursework? Like, my courses should be enough. And y'all are quickly realizing that sometimes the coursework is just not enough. And you have to sit with that and just be honest with yourself and know if it is or if it's not enough. Like literally, I had to learn this process through trial and error. Why Done Dissertation works is because I took the time, and I got all the headaches and all the I've gone to all the wrong paths that can help you fast track this thing. But I know a lot of you have been through and thinking about, man, I'm in a doctoral program. I've taken my courses. Like, for instance, we get a lot of folks that reach out to us because they want help writing a literature review. Folks struggle big time with the literature review. If that's you, just let me know in the comments, because that's the most common area of the dissertation I find folks struggling is the literature review. And they feel like, well, I took these courses, I should be able to get the support I need, and I should be good. And they find that they're not, and they have an issue. It's really hard to grapple with that. But it's just, why not get the help for somebody who can help point you in the right direction to get your outline together, to help you think through the literature review, and then push you in the right direction? It makes absolutely no sense to really sit and just because you're frustrated because you spent all this time and money in your program, you're not making the progress. Why not get the help now that can save you time and money later? Because our goal is to help you get out of your doctoral program so that you can get that new promotion, that you can increase your consulting charges, so that you can get that faculty position. Whatever it is that you're trying to do with your career post-dissertation, there's no sense to be stuck in a program, because best believe every semester that you stay stuck, you're spending thousands of dollars and have no progress. And so Wo Chen says, my concern is that the new eyes on an issue that I have worked with a content expert on sometimes yield suggestions that can distract and delay. So that is often my worry. And so Wo Chen, you're saying your concern, I'm just going to read that again, is that new eyes on an issue that I have already worked with a content expert on sometimes yield suggestions that can distract and delay. So that's often my worry. No, you just have to have a coach that kind of works with you. So sometimes part of what we do with our clients and folks who are in the program can chime in. If you're online, just drop a comment. You all know how this goes. Is that we kind of help you learn how to navigate and coach your dissertation committee on how to work with you. So sometimes it's not always, an issue with the content. I think sometimes it's about the process. And honestly, I think the process and knowing how to navigate the process is more important than just the content in of itself. Because you have great content, Wo Chen, and if you don't understand the process and do things wrong in the process, it will delay you, even if your content and writing is on point. I just see it happen too many times for too many of our clients. They get stuck. But I definitely understand that this is a issue. And I know a lot of folks are really thinking about that I need a coach that is someone who has expertise in my area. That is false. If you have someone who does really good research, we're able to really adapt quickly to what your research area is. And then that's, again, why you have a committee as well. They are content experts in your area. And your coach should be helping you through the process, helping you with your writing, help you think through things, help you navigate this process. I think that's really important in what you have to consider looking for in a coach. And I have a Facebook user. I can't see the name, so just let me know who this is. My concern is turnaround time and navigating the process. Yeah, that's always the case, right? Navigating the turnaround time is key. And how we work with the Velocity Coaching Program, we keep everybody ahead of the process so that you're never waiting for feedback. You care less. Of course you care, but you don't care as much about the turnaround time because we're constantly moving you forward. And that's why folks come in the program, they're writing their proposals, 3 months. Shout out to one of our clients, Darren, who is getting ready to soon should be defending his dissertation. Started working with us in January, wrote his proposal in three months and defended it, and has now finished his dissertation. So he's 6 months 6 months out from starting to work with us and has a full dissertation done. So it doesn't take a long time, but it does take concerted effort. Hey, what's going on, Tiffany, on Instagram? And got mama of 2 boys. I'm not sure your names. Let me know in the comments on Instagram. Good to see you all. So yeah, turnaround time is key, but you got to always work ahead of the process. And then, of course, navigating everything. That's why that's where our bread and butter is. We really help people get through the process. And then Wo Chen says, I'm reminded that we're novices at dissertation, so seeking help from those who have experience is important. Thankfully, my advisor is great at offering support in the ways that keep a fire under me. That is perfect. I love when I hear relationships with advisors like that. Not everybody, unfortunately, has it, but I'm thankful that you do have that, because it's really impactful. And shout out to my dissertation advisor, Dr. Tanitha Grosslin. She was really, 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 really supportive. She's a professor now at University of South Florida. And she was really supportive. And how I kind of learned this process was part of how she trained me. And then, I kind of added on to it as I started helping more people get through the process. but I think it's really important to have a good advisor. But unfortunately, not all of us have that. And then what I want to talk about, in terms of when we peel back the layer, right, of why you might see it as a scam. I know in some spaces you might feel like your professors make it seem like you got to know all the answers, or your professors might make it feel, or you may take on this feeling and this burden like, hey, I'm at the dissertation phase. I got through my coursework. I passed comps. And so I have to be able to do this all by myself. And that is so far from the truth. You got to have a support system and a network. It's really hard to do this thing by yourself. That's why if you look at folks' dissertation, they got a dedication page. Take a look. They know the people, the village and the tribe that really helped them get through that process. It's more than just you doing the work yourself. You do the work, but you got other people supporting you. And I don't want you all to sit feeling like you have to do all that yourself. Like there is a community and support out there that you all need to really bring in and take and get access to, because it's really important. And then I find that a lot of folks, internally believe that, they may not have never heard of a dissertation coach. I'm surprised now at how many people that reach out to us and say, oh my God, I didn't even know this existed. And I'm so thankful that it does, because now I can get the support I need that I didn't know that was available to me. And this is really impactful when I hear this. I'm thankful that folks are hearing more and more about this. And then some folks are trying to figure out, are they ready for coaching, or do they want it? And this is something that I always just say, if you're stuck in the process, there's no need to be stuck for long when there are people out here that you can get help from. And then I know there's some folks now we're starting to get who are getting ready to start the dissertation, like our September cohort. We're already filling it with people who are saying, look, I'm not trying to play any games. I'm trying to get through the dissertation process in 1 year. Let me start working now so I can have the right systems and structure in place to get through this quickly. And I always recommend that for folks, because again, I want you all to get through this process quickly so that you get back to your family, so you can get back to making an impact in the community with your research and do all the things that you intended to do when you started your doctoral program. Thank you for this Facebook user. They said this level of education is a mystery. Creating someone new or expanding on something can be an overwhelming process. Finding a coach removes the fog of war and clarifies the unknown. I believe somebody in our program currently who wrote this particular message. But yeah, it really is a mystery if we let it. And our goal at Dissertation is to demystify the process, because we find that once you understand where you're going, it's easier to get there. And we are able to kind of help you along the way. Oh, thanks, Ron. It's Ron Miller. He's a current client of ours. And I think really that's really where we come in handy, is that helping you kind of clarify what's out there and where you can go and how to get through this process quickly. And just to give an example, for one of our clients, like on our coaching call a couple of weeks ago, we were talking and they want us to look at their proposal, or actually qualifying exam PowerPoint. And on the call, we end up looking at it and we end up going through it almost like they did a mini defense with us, like on the group coaching call. And then literally we hear back a couple weeks later that they passed their comps. They had to do this presentation, but they missed the email, only had like a couple hours notice, if I recall. And this person's on. So they just remind me, I think it was like a 2-hour notice you had to go ahead and actually defend this document. And so these are the things that when you have a coach that helps guide you through, you feel prepared and you're ready to go. It doesn't even matter when or where, you're able to pick up and move quickly with this thing. Oh, Ron. Okay. Ron says, it was Ron. He says an hour and a half. So he said he had an hour and a half when he found out about having to defend his qualifying exam. But having worked with folks, to help get you through and be in this process with us at the Velocity Your Coaching Program, we're taking the mystery out of it so that you can just do the work. And again, we think that's really important. So with that, I want to talk about what do you need to look for in a coach? Because not all dissertation coaches are created equal. And so I want to provide some insight about some things I would consider that you need to look for. One, you got to make sure your coach has actually written a dissertation. So this may seem like real silly, right? But there's folks out here who are still ABD themselves trying to coach people, or they've finished and it was kind of suspect how they finished. So this is something that you got to consider. Like, think about the qualifications of your actual coach. I really think that is important when you're thinking through this process. So this is the thing. So make sure that they actually have their doctorate and that they wrote a dissertation. And what I would suggest is actually go pull their dissertation. Go take a look at it. What's the quality look like in their actual work? I think that's really important. I think the quality of your coach's work speaks to how they will coach you through this process. I really do believe that. And I always share this all the time with a lot of my clients in the program. If there's something I'm thinking through, I'll pull up my dissertation in a minute to kind of help show them in a dissertation format how this could look, how to approach the writing. And, this should be something that a coach should be easily want to give to you. Like if you are thinking about coaches, you say, hey, can I take a look at your dissertation? If you can't find it through ProQuest at your university, reach out to them. They should send it to you. And if they don't, there's an issue with that. Unless they have it somehow embargoed or something like that, and you find out, then that's a different scenario for someone who's recently gotten their doctorate. But I think that's really important, is like check out the qualifications of your coach. Like, look, I always say my dissertation is open, it's out there. Go take a look, check it out. Really proud of it. At that point in time, I've gotten so much better as a researcher since. But I thought I put together a great study, and that dissertation has led to over like 6 or 7 publications from it. So I know it's made an impact in the field just beyond being written in that 221-page document. I think this is another piece that you want to consider in a dissertation coach. You want someone who knows the research process. And this may seem like counterintuitive, right? But here's why. Because there are some folks who have gotten their doctorate, but have kind of like skated through the process, and they're not really researchers. And just to be quite honest, you can see it in their work. If you have like a trainer, you really can see it in their work. But they approach research in a very superficial way. But you want someone who's really ingrained and really like looks at this and really does this work. I think that's really important to look for in a coach. And here's why. The faculty members that you're working with, for the most part, have this trained eye and are researchers. So they're looking for writing, and they're looking for the thoughts and arguments to be up to a certain caliber. And if you're working with a coach that can't get you to that caliber because they themselves haven't gotten there, it's going to be really difficult. And this just is what it is. I think this is really important. And this is why I find a lot. It helps when your coaches, you actually see them put in research as well, because they not only know it from the dissertation, but they've like implemented and actually written for publication. They've gone through like the review process. They get how that all goes. It gives them a different set of eyes on your document than just any old person who's just gotten their doctorate. Because again, not all doctoral programs are created equal, and sure enough, not all dissertations are created equal. So that's something that you really want to start thinking about. And I find it's important as you're thinking through who your coach should be. And shout out to Dr. Joel, who's on. I think he might still be on. Good to see you. And again, as you all have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I'll take them as we get towards the end. We're going to wrap up here shortly. But shout out to Ron. He said, this group gave me the confidence and understanding to navigate the qualifying exam. Yeah, Ron, you're way ahead of the game. You got a proposal ready and locked and loaded for your committee, which I love. So much respect to you putting in the work. We just help give you the process to do it. And then lastly, right, not only you want great qualifications from your coach, you want someone who actually does research. I think that's really important. Check out, definitely, if you need my CV, I'll definitely send it to you. At this point, I have like over 60 publications. I know this process inside and out, and kind of help people leverage and think about their research in various types of ways. So again, this is where we have an advantage at Done Dissertation, where myself, my coach is Dr. Varela, who's also just a beast at writing and research and publication, who's an alum of our program. Again, you want people who really have that mindset and look at research in a particular way, and they really give you really great feedback to help push you forward. So the last thing I want you all to consider, you got great qualifications, someone knows the research process. You want a program that actually has successful clients. Like, y'all should be looking at the success of their clients. What do their clients do? How's their experience in the program? Like, definitely reach out to the clients. I always recommend, definitely reach out to, if you're considering working with us at the Velocity Group Coaching Program, reach out to our clients. Some of them are on this live right now. Some are in, you can message, we usually post testimonials for some of our clients on our website and things like that. Definitely reach out to them and learn more about their experience. I think as, consumers, we want to make sure that we do our due diligence on getting support. And if you're considering coaching at this point, I highly recommend that, you work with a coach who actually has success. Because there's folks that are just marketing and talking a good game, but they don't have any successful clients. And that's not what we do here at the Velocity Group Coaching Program. We want folks out with their doctorate, doing the work, and definitely I could send you all of our clients who have been really successful after working with us and getting through this process. So I think those are some things that you really want to look for in your dissertation coach. And then here's what I've learned and here's why our Velocity Group Coaching Program works so well. First is that we created a community of scholars. Like, this is so important. Like, you all who are going through this program, like by yourself, or maybe you have fallen behind your cohort at this point, you feel like they're fast ahead of you. You really need to support to get through this process. And that's what we did in our Velocity Group coaching program. We created a community of scholars. So not only is everybody working on a dissertation independently, but we're also cheering each other on. We're also sharing resources, because some people, maybe at university with different types of resources, like really showing each other what the whole landscape is. And then here's what happens when you're looking post dissertation defense about career aspirations. When you have a community, you have a built-in network. So our folks that are alum of the Velocity Group coaching program, I tell them this all the time. Like, if they're looking to get into a certain space, we send emails connecting them with other alum of the program. This is how you build, but you got to have a network. And this goes out to a lot of folks that reach out to us looking for one-on-one coaching, right? They find like, hey, I need someone to handhold me through the process. While there are coaches that do that, and we used to do that, I used to do that for a long time, one-on-one. What I found with one-on-one coaching that was not as effective is that, one, you didn't build a network of scholars. And then two, as one-on-one, sometimes your coaches can just handhold you, I think, a little too much to get through this process. I think at some point you have to be willing to be independent, do the work, and then come to your coach like, hey, here's what I did. Here's my plan. Can you help me think through what I did and how it went? That's a different perspective. That's the scholar perspective. When you start saying, I'm going to take hold of this process and I'm not going to worry about, I'm going to do the work, and I'm going to come to my coach to get support of what I'm thinking and help me flesh out my plan. But I come to them with the plan first, versus what I see a lot of one-on-one coaching is that you go to your coach with, asking them to tell you what to do. And as folks in our Velocity Group coaching program will tell you, is that we are quickly trying to give them the skill set and the tools where they can take a hold of the process and then be the drivers of it versus being a passenger. And so if you've been a passenger of your dissertation process, just know you won't finish until you become the driver. And so if you can't make that transition from passenger to driver on your own, then you definitely need to come work with us in the Velocity Group coaching program. And again, I think you all have to consider the community aspect, and you all have to consider, like, it's really helpful to have a curriculum. Like, literally our curriculum in the Velocity Group coaching program walks you step by step through all the aspects of the dissertation process, so that when you have questions that may seem simple, you can go to the curriculum and get answers, or come to work with us on our group coaching call. And then now you can ask your questions to get support. So we figured out a really strong way to create community with one another in our program, and then also get folks the support they need so that they can be drivers of the dissertation. And that's really what you're looking for. Again, a lot of folks you keep hearing about these scams with dissertation coaches. It is not the case, but you do have to do your due diligence and get the support that you need. And again, I wanted to talk about this. I had this experience with this person in the Facebook community, which was quite interesting. And I want you all to really start thinking about that and what you need in a coach. And so at this point, I want to open it up for any other questions that folks might have as you are thinking through, your dissertation journey. And even questions you have about us, about my qualifications. I guess for those of you who haven't met me yet, I got my doctorate in 2015. So December 2015, I got my doctorate in urban educational leadership from Morgan State University. My dissertation focused on the academic and social experiences of high-achieving Black men who attended one historically Black university. I was very much interested in how these men were successful, and then what is it about the institution, about the HBCU environment that cultivated their success. And from that study, I ended up finding that there were a lot of Black male adult learners who attended college, and I had not considered them previously. And so I have built a line of research that focuses on Black male adult learners. I also have a theory called the Black male adult learner success theory, published in the Adult Education Quarterly. You could check out, where I kind of created a theory to help with this particular population because no one had really written about them previously. And so again, I'm someone who's written a dissertation, but taken that dissertation and done the research from it, and then help others to do the same. I got so many folks that have worked with us who are published authors while they were doc students, as well as after they have earned their doctorate. And again, I love to do this. I love to support you all getting through this process, because here's what it is. I want to see you all get your doctorates, because I have a 3-year-old, and I want to make sure you all are doing the cutting edge research that makes life for my daughter, Leah, much easier. And I think this is really important, and something that is at the root of what we do at Dissertation is, like, I want to see you all win so that I know that society wins as a whole. And again, I don't want to see you all just spending thousands of dollars in tuition, no degree to show for it, when you all have the skill sets to, like, change the world. And so this is something that I really want you all to think about. And there's no need to be stuck in this process because you got these thoughts about dissertation coaches being a scam, or that you shouldn't get help, or that you should figure this out on your own. But any questions or comments or thoughts? And shout out to LaCoria Conti for the Dissertation polos. I'm going to drop a link when I put out the replay, I'll make sure I tag you, LaCoria, in it so that folks can reach out to you because your designs are super dope. Any questions? So you see we still got some folks on. So any questions, thoughts, comments before we wrap up? But again, I want you all to win. So definitely don't go through this process alone. If you are someone who needs support, trying to figure out how to get through, one thing I want you to grab is a copy of my book called 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation, a guide to navigating the dissertation process and finishing in record time. I wrote this book. It's really short, sweet, to the point, but it really gives you the insights and strategies in order to get through the process quickly. It makes no sense. And this book is great for folks who are even in their coursework, right, and trying to figure out how to navigate the process. I highly recommend you grab a copy of 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation. You can grab your copy at www.thedonedissertation.com/book. You'll see it on the link right now. On the screen right now, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. But my folks on Instagram, if you just click on our bio at Done Dissertation, you click the link and you can go right there and grab a copy of the book. So make sure you definitely get that. And for my folks who are looking for community and looking to get support, make sure that you join our From ABD to PhD community on Facebook. And so to join our community where we're not talking about dissertation coaches as a scam, make sure you join our community at www.donedissertationgroup.com. And just make sure you answer the 3 questions, and then we'll let you in to the group. And that way you can build community with one another, ask questions if you have any, all those types of things. And then, as always, if you are a doctoral student trying to figure out how to get through and you keep making the same mistakes, I'll end with, we have our 10 strategies guide. So definitely check out our website at www.dissertationmistake.com. And this guide will talk about the 10 dissertation mistakes that I see doctoral students make that impacts you from securing a faculty position. And I just see a lot of these mistakes that doctoral students make, and I definitely don't want you to make them. So definitely go to the website, dissertationmistake.com, to grab this free e-guide. I'm going to open up to some questions that folks might have. Great question from Wo Chen is, how long is the wait list for coaching support? So reach out to us because we got to see kind of where you are in the process, and my team will definitely chat with you. Shoot me a message, if you just shoot it right now, and I'll be able to send some information for you to talk about next steps. We do have a cohort that's going to start September 1, but based on where you are, I know you're getting ready for proposal defense, so I'll talk about a possible coaching session, just getting you ready for your defense. But again, we want to know a little bit more about where you are, and we can help get you support that you need. But that's a great question. And what I will say is that what ends up happening with our cohorts, because the program is getting more and more and more popular, we're actually selling out our cohorts like in the future, right? So like our September cohort, we've already sold slots, and we like to keep our program pretty intimate. And so our program is not large in terms of folks who participate in the program. Wo Chen, thank you so much. Or Wu Chen, I'm sorry. Let me get that correct. And correct me if that second version was correct, was right. Sorry, it's hard to do this without being able to talk to you and hear you say it. So make sure that if you need the support, definitely shoot us a message, and we will gladly chat with you more. So Bamadeli says, so instead of looking for your chair as a dissertation coach, the chair should be more of a peer colleague because the dissertation committee should be navigators for the dissertation process. Yes, Bamadeli, that is correct. They definitely should be a peer colleague. They should be help you navigating. They should be coaching in some aspects. They may not be coaching all the time, or it may not be everything that you might need for your dissertation, but it should be something that you all should consider your chair to be doing for you. And your committee as well. Again, not everybody, all chairs are created equal. So you want to have constant communication so they can help support you and get you through the process. Any other questions? And thanks for Misunderstood who's joined, and Taylor Chick, thank you for joining on Instagram. And thank you for everybody who's tuning in. Any other questions? Again, don't go through this process alone. Like, we want to see you all getting support. We want to see you all getting out of your doctoral program. And again, we want to make sure that you get the support that you need, but definitely do your due diligence on coaches. Definitely reach out to us if you have any questions about our coaches and our support that we provide. We'd be glad to talk with you more about it. And again, for those who just tuning in, I'm Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we demystify the dissertation process so that doctoral students can write and defend their dissertation in 1 year or less. I want to say thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of Done Dissertation Office Hours. I look forward to seeing you all next week when we talk about another issue related to dissertation success. Make sure that you reach out, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Take